As you know, there are many fascinating mysteries of the universe in distant stars and galaxies. Only some of these mysteries can be observed without having to go very far. Hello guys! There are some of these mysterious celestial bodies very close to us. An example of this is Lapetus, one of the most peculiar moons in the solar system. But what makes this moon so interesting? Welcome to our channel. As always, let's take a more detailed look. So it's time to start our video. This is a Lapetus. Lapetus was the second satellite discovered around Saturn. It was discovered 16 years after Titan in 1671. The great astronomer Cassini was the first to discover it. After that, Cassini discovered 3 more moons around Saturn: Rhea, Dione and Tertus. However, these will not be addressed in this video. The diameter of Lapetus is approximately 1,491 kilometers. Among the many moons of Saturn, only Titan and Rhea are larger than this moon. Lapetus is located at a considerable distance from Saturn and takes 79 days to complete an orbit around Saturn. It is currently considered the 24th moon closest to Saturn. Usually when these moons are discovered on other planets, at first they don't seem to arouse much interest. However, surprising discoveries may arise later through research. For example, initially we did not know that Europe has an ocean below its ice layer, that Titan has a complete hydrosphere composed of hydrocarbonates, and that Triton has ice volcanoes. In the case of Lapetus, however, it was different. Cassini had already realized that this moon had a common behavior. When Cassini discovered this moon, it was already known that Lapetus had several moons and that Saturn also had one. These moons were located west or east of the planet's point of view. In other words, the visibility of the moons varied depending on the position in its orbit. However, Lapetus did not follow this rule. When Cassini observed this moon, there were times when it was located west of Saturn or even completely invisible. This mystery intrigued the great astronomer for 34 years. In 1705, when he was already 80 years old, the elderly Cassini finally discovered the answer, just 7 years before he died. At that time, although advances were slower than they are today, still, 34 years was considered a long period, even for that time. With the advancement of glass processing technology, it was possible to create telescopes more powerful than the one with which Cassini discovered this moon. When Cassini looked at Saturn with a last-generation telescope at that time, he saw Lapetus east of Saturn and discovered that when this moon was in this orbital position, its luminosity decreased by 2 magnitudes. That was the reason why Lapetus was not found east of Saturn in the past. The old telescopes did not have enough resolution power. Cassini interpreted that the reason why Lapetus changes brightness is because one of its hemispheres is darker than the other. Although Lapetus is always with the same face facing Saturn, the face facing Earth varies. When this moon is west of Saturn, it shows a bright face to Earth, and when it is east, it shows its dark face. Subsequent research confirmed Cassini's theory. The first perfectly captured image of Lapetus was taken by the Voyager 1 probe in 1980, but it was the Cassini probe, sent a quarter of a century later, which was successful in carrying out a detailed investigation. Currently, most of the data we have about Lapetus is based on the information collected by the Cassini probe. Two hemispheres. As mentioned earlier, the most striking feature of Lapetus is the great difference in brightness between its 2 hemispheres. The dark hemisphere is known as the front side, that is, the side that is in the direction of the satellite's orbit. If we compare this satellite to a ship, the dark half would correspond to the bow. The bright hemisphere, or the back side, would correspond to the stern of the ship. The border between the hemispheres is irregular and does not coincide with the meridian that separates the hemispheres. In other words, it can be said that Lapetus is more like a tennis ball than a chocolate egg divided by a straight line in the middle. Lapetus's poles are bright, while the hemisphere on the back has a dark region close to the equator. The bright area is larger than the dark area and occupies almost 60% of Lapetus's surface. In addition, it is interesting to note that the detailed images captured by the Cassini probe show a clear border between the light and dark regions. If we could stay at one end of the bright hemisphere, only 30 meters ahead we would already be in the dark area. There is no intermediate zone or gray area. There are only white and black regions, or more precisely, white and dark brown. As Lapetus is an ice moon, it is natural to think that it was originally bright. The dark hemisphere is simply a layer of dust accumulated on the surface of this moon. However, where did this dust come from? Although there are other moons that also show differences in brightness between hemispheres, like Europe, the difference in brightness is not so great. Only Lapetus has such a significant difference between hemispheres that it made it difficult to observe. Perhaps the clues to solving this mystery are in the celestial bodies near Lapetus. Lapetus is located on the outside, far from the planet Saturn itself, along with other moons. These moons were not formed in situ like the inner moons, but were captured by Saturn after its formation. For this reason, many of these moons have retrograde orbits. It is possible that the dust from these moons has accumulated on the surface of Lapetus. And over billions of years, this may have shaped its current appearance. The Great Wall. Thanks to the images captured by the Cassini probe, it was possible to confirm that the surface of Lapetus has another peculiar geological formation. Along the equator, surrounding this moon, there was a very high slope, similar to an ice wall, which extends for more than 13 kilometers in height and more than 20 kilometers in width. This wall extends along the equatorial region, both in the bright half and in the dark half of Lapetus. This wall resembles the Great Wall of Game of Thrones, but its origin is still shrouded in mystery. According to a theory, this moon is composed internally of ice, and this wall can be an opening that leads from the inside to the surface. However, we do not know for sure how this opening was formed. Although we have found many ice moons, there is none similar to this. Maybe Lapetus has had a faster rotation speed and a slightly larger size in the past. Over time, Lapetus's rotation speed has decreased, and it has synchronized with the orbit period around the planet, as well as many other moons, and Lapetus itself has also shrunk. In this way, this large folding wall may have formed. However, we still do not know why we do not see something similar on other moons in the solar system. In addition, there is another theory that suggests that this wall is the result of old Lapetus subsatellites. Theoretically, just as planets orbiting stars can have their own moons, the moons of a planet can have their own moons as well. However, the orbits of these subsatellites are extremely unstable due to the influences of celestial bodies such as planets, other moons, the Sun and neighboring planets. In other words, there are many unpredictable elements that affect their orbits. It is believed that Lapetus's subsatellite has deviated from its orbit, approaching Lapetus and eventually colliding due to gravity. As a result, these subsatellites formed a kind of ring around Lapetus. And this ring may have accumulated exactly in the equatorial region of Lapetus, where the rotation occurred. According to this hypothesis, we may be observing the results of this process as the Great Wall of Lapetus. And so we end our video today. Thanks for watching to the end. I hope you enjoyed this content. The mystery of Lapetus still awaits a clear answer. If we can properly investigate this moon using modern technology, maybe we can find these answers. And as is common in the world of science, these answers can bring us new puzzles. And to stay on top of the latest news and space discoveries, subscribe to our channel and add us to your favorites. Well folks, it's time to say goodbye here. A big hug and see you in our next video here on the Wikivedia Plus channel. Until then, bye-bye.